James Marape meets with Australian Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles. Marape appoints new CLRC chairman. And Oil and Gas Act needs reform. Good evening. You're watching National EMTV News. I'm Grace Papiali. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister James Marape has met with the Australian Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles today at the Prime Minister's office in Port Moresby. Prime Minister Marape and the Australian Deputy Prime Minister confirmed that the two countries have a comprehensive strategic economic partnership relationship which is stronger and closer, that builds a strong foundation.
So you've got Parliament this morning.
Prime Minister Marape and a few members of Parliament met the Australian Deputy PM with warm greetings. The Australian Deputy Prime Minister said he has travelled to PNG more than 20 times and his first visit was back in 1984. He said the two nations have set a strong foundation and are more like family than just friends.
The strategic circumstances that face our world right now are as complex and challenging as any that we have faced since the end of the Second World War. And how we deal with them is not necessarily obvious, but one point is really clear. This is a time where you need to be close to friends, and that's how we feel in relation to PNG. We've been talking a lot about how at a defence level we can do more together, have more coordination, have our servicemen and women working alongside each other more in the spirit of partnership. We're looking at ways in which we can support that at a policing level as well. Looking at a bilateral security treaty so that we elevate the arrangements between our two countries to the status of a treaty document between our two nations.
Marape said Australia understands PNG much more better in the way our economy is moving, and it supports PNG accordingly.
If you look at the plate that we sit on, the geological plate that we sit on, the major part of our plate is the same plate that Australia sit on. And so we are linked to the hip, but in terms of going forward, we want to tidy in our own relationship.
As a typical Melanesian society, PM Marape presented a historic book to the Australian Deputy PM.
And how we all started, right, almost 100 years ago.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister.
In exchange, Richard Marles also presented a decorative plate to the Prime Minister.
A modern piece, but you can see Indigenous motives on it, but it's a gift from Australia, but also from Geelong. Thank you.
After the meeting with PM Marape, the two Deputy Prime Ministers of Australia and PNG left for Morobe Province for the opening of the Angau Memorial Hospital. Esther Gane, National EMTV News.
Prime Minister James Marape visited the Constitutional and Law Reform Commission on Tuesday to introduce and install the new chairman, Saki Soloma, making his first visit to CLRC, a first by any Prime Minister of PNG. The visit also saw the Prime Minister praise the Commission for the work it had been doing in reforming and updating their laws, and also signaled the important task for CLRC in the lead-up to the country's 50 years of nationhood in 2025.
Prime Minister Marape said his government will be working closely and supporting CLRC and the chairman to address critical questions on the Constitution, the laws, systems and processes we have been using since independence, and charting a way forward for the next 50 years. The Prime Minister said, in keeping up with the path set by our founding fathers and mothers in the Constitution, CLRC's constitutional mandate on Constitution must also be utilized to elicit endorsements and solutions from the people on those key questions, such as the review on the system of government that includes the election of the Prime Minister by the people and the judiciary, as well as the future of the autonomous region of Bougainville. While thanking the Prime Minister for his visit, CLRC Secretary Dr. Mange Mathieu said the Commission understands the significance of the nation's 50th anniversary. Dr. Mathieu said the Commission has already commenced work on the development of the underlying law, the colonial laws, and the major review on the form of system of government, apart from the legislative reviews. Esther Gane, National EMTV News.
The current Oil and Gas Act 1998 does not allow for better benefit sharing. This was highlighted by the Minister for Petroleum and Energy, Karenga Kua.
During the Parliament sitting today, Member for Raikos Kesi Sawang questioned if the Oil and Gas Act 1998 will be reformed.
Are we going to reform the existing Oil and Gas Act 1998, which is not benefiting our people, and have Papua New Guinea have a fair share in the benefit sharing? Number two issue, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is this. We need cheaper energy to attract foreign direct investment, downstream processing, manufacturing, and moving PNG towards industrialization. What defies logic, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is this. We are blessed with so much energy, oil and gas. We extract, ship overseas, and we import the finished products at much higher cost. And we produce energy to only 13% of our people.
In response, Minister responsible for Petroleum and Energy, Karenga Kua, explains how the Act works, which is not in favor to Papua New Guineans.
Most of us have always taken the view, Mr. Speaker, that the Oil and Gas Act operates repressively against the people of Papua New Guinea and the state. And since the Marape Basil government and now Marape Rosso government has been in office, we have been looking for means and ways to reform the existing statutory regime. The current regime we have under the Oil and Gas Act is a post-World War II regime, which is based on a system called a concession-based licensing system. That's where operators come in, we give them licenses, they make a discovery, and we forfeit our right of ownership to them 100%. And very importantly, we give it to them FOC. And then they, upon receiving that gift, they then sell back a certain percentage back to us. This applies to both petroleum and mining. In mining, there's an option for them to sell us up to 30%, and in petroleum, 22.5%. So what we give them free the other day, they sell it back to us the next day for a commercial price.
Minister Kua elaborated that when this happens, we resort to loans to buy back the percentage being offered.
From the Papua New Guinea's perspective, you can call it a buyback scam. But that's the law. It is the law that's been made by this parliament. Since the beginning, that law continues. So we continue to struggle to give it away, our ownership rights, 100% free of charge, and struggle to buy it back.
He further highlighted that a bill was introduced.
As Minister for Petroleum from 2019 was to introduce to this parliament a draft bill to move us away from this concession-based licensing system into a new regime called the production sharing arrangement. That will eliminate the need to go to the banks and, that will eliminate the buyback scheme or scam. That will eliminate the need for us to go and borrow. The resource will be developed at the developer's cost, and we share upon the production being produced.
Minister Kua made an appeal to all politicians that if they want to maximize the harvesting of petroleum resources in PNG, they need to show their support when the bill comes in.
Towards the end of the last parliament, I introduced a bill which was approved by the cabinet. I tabled it. It was on the notice paper of this parliament, but two things happened. Number one is that we received some late submissions to revise certain parts of it from important leaders on the floor of this parliament. That was one. The second thing was that we had reached the end of the term and we went into an election. So, Mr. Speaker, we withdrew that bill. Now that a new cabinet lineup has been set up, my department will recommence the redrafting of the bill to make sure that we bring back into this parliament at the earliest a production sharing arrangement bill for our natural resources, especially in the petroleum sector.
Florence John Duo, National EMTV News.
Trukai Industries Limited has gone into partnership with the University of Technology in Ley Morobe Province. This partnership will see rice farmers being trained under Trukai's Smart Farmer program.
This rice farmer program, initiated by Trukai, aims to pave the way for local rice farmers to receive an education accreditation from a recognized tertiary institution in the country. A memorandum of agreement was signed today at the Unitech's Taraka campus. This is a 5-year agreement for public-private partnership for academic and professional joint approach in rice research and trainings through the advancement of science and technology. This partnership demonstrates Trukai's support for local rice farmers through the Smart Farmer program, and this is the company's contribution to the rice development in PNG. This was alluded to by Trukai Industries Chief Executive Officer Alan Preston. Trukai's Rice Development Officer Aina Davis cited that this training will take a more practical approach with the aim to enable local farmers to become smallholder farmers and eventually to commercial rice farmers. Farmers will have access to classrooms, research laboratories, and field facilities for trainings, as well as undergraduate and postgraduate student training, research, and extension activities. Head of Agriculture Department at the Unitech, Professor McQueen Minor, said students will be engaged in work-integrated learning experiences with Trukai. The Smart Farmer program by Trukai Industries will be for all levels of farmers to attend. It will run for 2 weeks with participants learning the basics of irrigation rice farming. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break with more stories. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Minister for Information and Communication Technology, Timothy Masiu, announced the accomplishments and plans of the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, National Cyber Security under the Digital Government Act 2020. Minister Masiu said their agenda is to perform all critical tasks that are in line with the international best practices.
2022 and upcoming approval.
Information and Communication Technology Minister Timothy Masiu, in his ministerial statement during Parliament session yesterday, revealed an achievement done whilst in his meeting in the United Nations International Telecommunications Union Conference in Bucharest, Romania last month.
We learned at the ITU Plenipotentiary Conference in Bucharest, Romania, that Papua New Guinea is the first Pacific Island nation to initiate the digital transformation agenda through our Digital Transformation Policy 2020, the Digital Government Act 2022, and the Draft Digital Government Plan of 2023 to 2027. I want to also add that the Marape Rosso government is the first, after 12 years, to introduce a comprehensive national policy to guide the usage of ICT within the public service.
Minister Masiu said the implementation of ICT functions in the government system will be at a larger scale.
For the whole of government, including coordinating cybersecurity initiatives and implementation, managing the secure data exchange platform that will enable government systems integration, interaction and collaboration from national to provincial and district level, and managing the cloud technology solutions for the government.
Improving services in the Samarai-Murua district of Milne Bay province will continue this year. A barge carrying district services materials that left Port Moresby last week was well received this week in Misima Island.
The barge loaded with district services materials traveled 3 days and nights on sea before arriving in the district center at Vagaoia Station, Misima Island on Monday this week. Samarai-Murua MP Isi Henry Leonard, who officially discharged the barge from Motokea Wharf in Port Moresby last Friday, was again on hand to receive the barge on Misima Island. Mr. Leonard, while officiating the offloading of materials at Vagaoia Wharf, reiterated the importance of service delivery for a maritime district like Samarai-Murua. He said now after his re-election back in office, he is looking forward to continue most of his ongoing programs from the last term of Parliament, including new ones for this term. He highlighted some of the materials and items in this first load of the barge run.
We have 8 PMB trucks. We also have high school, Misima Secondary High School building materials, and also building material for the East Liak United Church and Pantava United Church building materials. We also have the Tagula government outpost building materials for the maintenance works.
He indicated that after the unloading of these cargoes, the barge would return to Motokea Wharf and load more items and materials for the district that were not loaded due to limited space. The next load would include motor vehicles for the district administration and 1 more PMB truck, among solar products like freezer and lighting systems for the remote clinics and health centers that will be distributed. More building materials for schools and churches within the district would be loaded in the second trip of the barge as well. Mr. Leonard thanked his people for their patience since his re-election 3 months ago and has called on all leaders within his district to come together for the common good and development of the people of Samarai-Murua. Jim John, National EMTV News.
The Zavath Seafood Limited has launched its first export of mud crabs to Singapore today. This is the first time a nationally owned seafood company in the fishing business to have its own export sent to Singapore. The launching was addressed by the company's director, Alphonse Parpa. In line with the government's vision of supporting locals in the space of small to medium enterprise and various businesses in the country, the Marape Rosso government is one with the concept and encouraging to local Papua New Guineans. In the space of fishing businesses in the country, large foreign exporters investing has been the picture set for a couple of decades. However, locals are gaining momentum to invest in this area. One of them is a nationally owned company, Zavath Seafood Limited, a subsidiary company of Zavath Holding Limited. This business is specialized in harvesting, processing, and production of PNG premium fish products for international markets. Company Director Alphonse Parpa said recently they have partnered with the National Fisheries Authority on the live mud crab export supply chain project that provides the avenue for village-based crab harvesters to have access to the markets.
From initial concept to something that will help the country to generate income, employment, and everything.
The company's first export is mud crabs brought in from Gavuone village in the central province. Parpa believes this will open the doors for PNG market in the fishing business space.
We want to make live mud crab of Papua New Guinea. We are bringing it to the market as a premium price live mud crab. Inogoran solo salim na come back for the sake of money. When we capture the international market, let's produce the best.
Their re-export office in Singapore is for storing, repackaging, and selling fish products to the Asian markets.
Hopefully this la first export blom today, and open door blow big plus anti locambian. At the same time, we make live mud crab a very precious commodity by blending. It's got value, something like.
East New Britain Province has been experiencing blackout issues for the past 5 months. This has gradually affected the province and business operations in town. Tamru Center Admin Officer Darden Titi raised her concern on this. Power outage in the province has come to the attention of many residents living in Kokopo town. For business operations, this is another extended cost as they are on standby generators. A business in the province, the Tamur Center, that is a commercial real estate that houses provincial and national government offices, is experiencing this drastic issue. The real estate's admin officer, Darden Titi, raised her concern.
It would be good for the province because, as you know, Kokopo, East New Britain as a whole is a growing province. The influx of people coming in and doing business, and there's other big establishments such as Tamar Center itself. And, in the next 5 years, the city of Kokopo will again change. And again, these are some of the issues that we have been facing.
Titi said the use of standby generators is a financial burden due to the rapid fuel consumption.
On behalf of other business houses in East New Britain, we have all taken note of the drastic changes that we've had to incur costs on gensets and tenants especially.
Despite this, they still open until 9:30 to 10 o'clock at night due to the 2 supermarkets that they have on the property and for public servants to have access to their offices and do their jobs so the province can run efficiently.
Let's say notices from PNG Power that advises the community on the times of the load shedding. However, have not heard any response or proper feedback from PNG Power, which I think we should. We should have the right to know, if this is a long-lasting issue, or is it going to be resolved as soon as possible, or will this continue to go on? But this year,
she said they are still waiting on PNG Power to give them assurance and information on the power outage issue. Daulo Foursquare Teachers College is an institution operated by then Foursquare Church of Papua New Guinea. The church-run educational institution currently offers diploma in primary teaching. The college is located in the Eastern Highlands province.
About an hour's drive to Kasena village in the Upper Asaro district of the Eastern Highlands province is the Daulo Teachers College. It is a newly established church-run institution that aims to offer accredited academic programs that is theologically oriented but diverse in courses offered. The institution aims to become the leading biblical integrated teacher training institution to train innovative, responsible and productive teachers in PNG and the Pacific region. It also aims to train and equip teachers who will be nationally and globally competent through its academic programs. College Principal Lin Yarume said the new Teachers College has a total of 150 trainee teachers as its first intake this year. Principal Yarume has appealed to the Eastern Highlands Provincial Government and the Daulo District Development Authority to assist the institution. Yarume highlighted that the Garuka District Foursquare Church congregation gave monies totaling 175,000 kina to the landowners. In return, the local community partnered with the institution to develop its local human resource in their district. The local communities near the premises of the college have made it their business to take care of the college properties, staff and student security and welfare. The Daulo Foursquare Teachers College currently has students from all over the country attending. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
Trainers and volunteers from the UN Women are rolling out their pilot financial literacy training in Huhu local level government in the Alotau district of Milne Bay province. This training began on Monday and will conclude on Saturday.
Over 100 participants from Waima and Yaneyanene ward came together at the Sineada Hall to kickstart their program. This training is part of the Market's Economic Recovery and Inclusion Program, which is supported by the Australian government and is implemented by UN Women in partnership with the Department of Community Development and Religion. Partner to the UN Women and a facilitator of the training, Nunulea Noel, tells us what this training's aim is.
It's life skills, but then the basics of starting up a little business or a market and how to maintain and sustain it and grow it. Yeah, so it's centered around the family setting, like around your family, your home, ironing out roles, relationships, who's responsible for this and that, having an understanding based from the home front itself, and then you know how to share and delegate responsibilities, and you take the onus upon yourself that I must contribute towards my family's benefit and economic gain.
The training is family-oriented and the target audience are people with low or no financial literacy level. Yaneyanene ward member Margaret Maika expresses her excitement to be part of this training.
I feel very privileged and honored for this training because it has been this is the first time of its kind to happen here. And the families are very, very interested and eager to learn what is in this package.
Another participant, Stephen John, shares the same sentiment. John, who is a grade 11 business studies student at Sacred Heart Secondary School, Hagita, says this is an opportunity that will broaden his knowledge on business. With this being the first district, Nunulea says they hope to extend their reach to the other 3 districts within Milne Bay province in the near future. Florence John Duo, National EMTV News.
And now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.2840 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, Yokina was buying $0.2765 $0.4383 Australian dollars, $0.2779 euro, 39.96 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower, coffee closed higher, cocoa closed lower, copra closed lower, palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading lower, copper closed lower. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading higher, the All Ordinaries is trading lower. National EMTV News continues after the break with more stories when we return. Welcome back to the news. Authors in PNG are faced with the dilemma of a decrease in the population of readers in the country, and that is a great concern. Tiri Kuimbakul, an author who has written over 16 books, highlighted some of the issues that is affecting authors in the country.
The population of readers in the country is quite small compared to other countries, and this poses a great challenge to authors in the country. In an interview with EMTV, Tiri Kuimbakul highlighted that he has left his full-time job in 2001 to become an author and outlined the issue of not having many people who are interested in books and reading in the country.
Challenges are firstly that the population of readers in this country is not that as big as other countries. Right? So there are not many readers in the country. People want to read newspapers and stuff like that, but reading books is not part of maybe our culture. Right? We remember things based on our memory of past events and all that. So I find that most people don't read books.
Mr. Quimbakul emphasized that reading broadens knowledge and it is evident, and he called on students to read a lot of books. He says what is taught inside the classroom or lecture rooms are not enough, thus when they read, they will know more about a particular subject or course.
So my encouragement to people in the country is we have to start reading. Because what I found is that when you read, it opens your mind, it broadens your mind, and you become a critical thinker. You don't take things for what they are. You begin to assess and question what people tell you, and you become more intelligent in the way that you view things that happen in the country or in the world. You'll know a lot of things that are happening.
Quimbakul also highlighted that the publication of books seems very difficult. He said many of the printing businesses are not meeting the standards to print according to what an author would want, and that has forced them to look overseas when it comes to publishing their books.
There are not many good high-quality printers in the country. In fact, I've worked with the printers already in the country, and I find that the quality of work is not that up to standard. So that is why I'm using these overseas printers.
Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
Like most parts of Papua New Guinea, the Obo Health Center in Middle Fly District of Western Province is experiencing a shortage of basic medical drugs. As it stands, health workers are doing their best to treat the patients.
Most patients from island villages in the Middle Fly district seeking medical treatment are not treated properly due to lack of medicines. The Obo Health Center is in dire need of supplies that include anti-malarial, antibiotics, antivenom, and others. These supplies have gone out of stock since the beginning of this year. According to officer in charge Junlai Nawalin, the health center cannot operate without the much needed medical supplies.
No medicine at the health center, nothing to treat the patient. Depending on the injections, but injections to finish in the middle of creating delay the transportation of the medicines to the facility and big problem.
Health workers in Obo are now calling on relevant provincial and district health authorities to supply medical drugs so that patients can get medical help at their local health center instead of being referred to other district hospitals for medical assistance. Jim John, National EMTV News.
The Papua New Guinea Teachers Association has announced recent reviews to their Clause 16 of the PNGTA Constitution. Three main pointers were discussed and reviewed in the recent PNGTA's Triennial National Congress meeting. This was revealed in a statement by the PNG Teachers Association Chairman Aite Sanangepe last week.
In its Triennial National Congress meet, the Teachers Association made the following changes: to defer the election from November 2022 to November of 2025, to extend PNGTA elections from 3 to 5 years, and give powers back to Industrial Registrar to supervise PNGTA elections conducted by the Electoral Commission, with PNGTA to fully fund the election. In its Triennial National Congress, a draft corporate plan was presented with all executives supporting the plan. According to the president of the Teachers Association, Aita Sanangepe, this corporate plan will now become the association's tool to address teachers' welfare. Other pointers of concern discussed at the meeting include having a database management system for all its members nationwide. Sanangepe alluded that a national management committee will decide on this soon. Teachers' home ownership scheme was also deliberated on during the meeting. Negotiation talks are underway with the National Housing Commission. The PNG Teachers Association will advise its members once the talks are finalized. This was alluded to by the President, Aita Sanangepe. The PNG Teachers Association has active members throughout the country. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. Trukai Sports is next. Stay with us. Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The Silver Fans have defeated the Australian Diamonds in the first Constellation Cup test last night.
For the Australian Diamonds, they brought them back down to earth with a 56-48 goal opening Constellation Cup win. That match was held in Auckland yesterday. It was the first match that the Diamonds had taken the court since the Com Games where they won gold, and the Australian side didn't really look like they were switched on early. They were blown out of the water in the first quarter. They conceded 11 goals without reply in what was a pretty brilliant 7-minute streak. New Zealand stifled Australia in the mid-court. They forced captain Liz Watson into rushed decision-making and uncharacteristic mistakes. There is one more match on New Zealand shores before the series comes back to Australia. New Zealand are the current holders of the Constellation Cup.
Mohamed Salah scored the fastest hat-trick in Champions League history as Liverpool earned a confidence-boosting 7-1 win over Rangers.
A 7-1 win over Rangers in the Champions League group stage. Rangers actually scored the first goal, but it was all Liverpool after that. Mo Salah was the talking point in this. He scored a hat-trick in just 6 minutes. Pretty incredible stuff. It's the quickest hat-trick in Champions League history. He came off the bench and it was just absolutely unbelievable. This was a crucial win for the Reds too. They're second in their group, 6 points clear of third with 2 group games remaining. Barcelona unlikely to make the knockout stages. Now they drew 3-0 with Inter Milan. They were behind 3-2 in the 89th minute. They levelled in the 92nd minute, but couldn't get it done after that. Tottenham 3 beat Eintracht Frankfurt 3-2. Son Heung-min with 2 goals, and Bayern beat Victoria Plzeň 4-2. So pretty entertaining morning in the Champions League.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And now looking at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, Port Moresby City, possible brief showers and thunderstorms tonight, then mostly fine, partly cloudy. Daru, partly cloudy and windy with morning squally showers. Kerema, overnight patchy rain, then cloudy morning. Alotau, few showers, then partly cloudy morning. And Popondetta, overnight patchy rain drizzle, then partly cloudy morning.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And before we go, in sports, with only 2 days remaining to this year's Rugby League World Cup, PNG's national men's and women's rugby league teams, the Santos PNG Orchids and the PNG Kumuls, will play 3 respective matches in their respective pools. Currently, they are in England ahead of the Rugby League World Cup.
The 2021 Rugby League World Cup will be played in UK, kicking off on October the 15th, 2022, with 16 participating countries all set to battle it out and represent their country. In the middle of this year, the PNG NRL started its search to find best players to represent the country both in-country and overseas. Having found some of the best players for both the national men's and women's Rugby League World Cup team, both teams went into vigorous training in Australia ahead of this year's Rugby League World Cup. With the national men's team, the PNG Kumuls first depart for England via Singapore. Yesterday, the national women's team, the Santos PNG Orchids, left for England from Australia. Both the Kumuls and the Orchids will play in their respective pools and have 3 matches each. For the national men's team, the PNG Kumuls, their first match will be against Tonga, followed by Cook Islands and Wales in their third and final match in their respective pool. Meanwhile, the Santos PNG Orchids will take on Canada in their first match, followed by Brazil and host England in their third match. The Rugby League World Cup is only 2 days away, and EMTV is the official broadcaster and will be bringing to you the live action free to air on EMTV. Godwin Eki, Trukai Sports.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Thursday, the 13th of October 2022. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Pro boxer and international rep Junior Kauko Raka will face his opponent from Manila, Philippines, Mark John next week Sunday in the featherweight division. Junior Raka is expected to leave the country at the end of this week prior to this event.
After gaining much-needed experience from his mentor and idol, professional mixed martial arts fighter and PNG representative Adrian Pang, Junior Raka says he is now ready to attend his first international bout come next week in Manila, Philippines. Raka, who is expected to fly out at the end of the week, says he will spend a few days in Manila to prepare himself for the fight. He says with everything he has learned from Adrian Pang, he will put all that to good use and utilize that when in the ring. Raka will face his international opponent Mark John from Philippines in Manila in the featherweight division. Raka is hoping to make PNG proud by giving his best shot, and he hopes to return home with the Asian boxing title. This will be Raka's first international trip and first bout after 2 years since the lockdown due to COVID-19 in 2020. Godwin Eki, Trukai Sports.
WeWork Football Association hosted its first ever proper season grand finals under the management of female president Judith Kumasi over the weekend.
The WeWork Football Association president kicked off the women's grand final with Nuigo FC taking home the women's division shield after defeating Mud Skippers FC women's team with 3-1. The first division final between Ace and Wirui Saints was a tough match, but Ace FC came out on top just before full time with 2-1, defeating Wirui Saints. The highlight of the day was the Premier Grand Final, which took place between Mud Skippers FC and WeWork Hills FC. Mud Skippers FC wasted no time in bagging the first goal 19 minutes into the first half. 13 minutes before the end of the first half, WeWork Hills came back strong with an equalizer. Both teams fought hard to defend their goals in the second half, which resulted in the referee's decision for an extra 10 minutes being given after full-time score of 1-1. The quick play and strong defense displayed by both teams resulted in shootouts as the decider for the match. Mud Skippers FC won after scoring 4-2 in the shootouts. Florence John Duo, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break with more sports stories. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.